Beers and Birds.
Run, 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 run.
Welcome to Beers and Birds, where we drink beer and we talk about the Eagles. We are podcasting from the world famous lounge. I'm Rob Wheeling. I'm here with Brad Underdog Weaver. And Mike Shepherdhead Wallace.
Currently $50 on Amazon, I'm sure.
Yes, it is. I'll check that out myself. Sean Moneyball Cottrell will be joining us a little later via the Skype. You want to listen to us? I hope you're listening to us now, but if you want to tell your friends to listen to us, tell them to listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher. And while they're there and while you're there, why don't you show some B&B love and give us a nice 5-star rating. Tell us whatever you want. Put 5 stars. I like beer. That's awesome. Fantastic. Awesome review. We'd love you to do it. All right, speaking of beer, why don't you keep up with our beer selections at Beers and Birds Pod on the Untapped app. See what we drank, see what we liked. Then go check us out on beersandbirds.com where you can see some of our blogs, maybe buy a beer koozie, get on that Amazon banner, contribute to the beer fund. There's all kinds of cool things you can do there. You should go. And then, of course, say hello to us on Twitter at Beers and Birds. Today, on this pod, we're going to preview the Eagles vs. Vikings NFC Championship game. But first, Mike, what beer are we drinking today?
We have an extremely special brew today. If you were paying attention to the Twitter at this particular time, roughly 7:43 on Wednesday night,
And you should.
you'd see a picture of it. It is Brad's special homebrew.
It is.
It looks delicious. Give us a little background on this, Brad.
Well, it's kind of meant to be similar to Heady Topper. I want to create like a pretty potent IPA, Imperial IPA, with a fairly high alcohol that was, kind of slightly bitter as IPAs are, but smooth like Heady Topper. It's a real creamy and smooth IPA, so I was looking to recreate that. I utilized some of the same hops. I used Simcoe, Bravo, Centennial, and Apollo hops in different time periods at them, different points of the boil to add different levels of flavor and aroma. And we'll kind of see what happens, see what you guys think. I'm going to let you guys kind of review it and grade it. And obviously it's my own beer, so I don't want to kind of get involved in that part of it. But I think it turned out pretty nicely overall. So I was pretty happy with what came out. So we'll give it a shot, see what happens.
So this is to be a clone of the Heady Topper, which is a beer unicorn. Like, it's a very hard beer to get. It's a very exclusive beer to get.
Yeah, it's made by the Alchemist, and it's produced up in Vermont, but you can only get within a small radius within the brewery.
25 miles.
I think they sell it within a certain radius of the brewery itself. So if you're looking for it, you know that it's very hard to get. You can pay a lot online and have people send it to you. Or if you're into making a road trip, you can head up to Vermont and you can grab some of it. I think a 4-pack of pints and cans costs about $16 from the brewery. So it's pretty pricey for a 4-pack, but most people would agree it's probably worth it.
Well, I looked up Heady Topper just because I wasn't, 8% beer is generally something Rob is not seeking out. But, I just checked it out. Apparently, people go bananas over this thing. Like, there were some interesting facts over there. Like, here's one I enjoyed. People used to bottle Heady in the bathroom illegally. So people used to go in to get this beer, then they would go into a bathroom, put it in a bottle, come out with the bottle, and then sell it to somebody.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to come by. It's a rare beer, and the way beer laws have changed, you can get a lot of things shipped to you, and especially in Pennsylvania, if you find somebody selling it, you can buy it and have it sent to your house. So you can obtain it, but you'll pay quite a bit of money to get it.
You could be like this gentleman. A dedicated drinker, flew in from South Africa just for a couple of cans. I'm assuming he had some money, but still, some dude came from South Africa, flew in on South Africa, and bought some beers for this. He came to get this. That's why he flew out. Mm-hmm. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, because it's either like a flight into New York and a couple-hour drive up there. I mean, you can fly into a smaller airport, Burlington, and then kind of drive over, but you're going to do some legwork to get to the Alchemist, so unless you're planning on going on a road trip up there, it's kind of hard to get. So
a friend of mine, I guess I told you about him earlier in the day, but anyways, he at his wedding, he did a beer grab bag situation where the person would just grab a beer and hand you a beer. That's your beer. It's random.
Okay.
The prized possession out of the beer grab bag was a Heady Topper, and someone was lucky enough to get a Heady Topper by just asking for a random beer.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, or you can brew your own like Brad did, which I find clever. So I'm going to call this the Bratty Topper, since I don't know if you have a name yet. I'm calling it the Bratty Topper.
That's clever.
So let's see what Bratty's Topper's like. Well,
That is sip number 3 for me now.
That's good, man. It's heavy for me.
No, as an Imperial IPA should, something that's
Of
around
course,
8% alcohol, you're going to get a little bit of that.
What's it looking like?
It is crazy creamy.
I think you
Bit
get. I
of
think
haze
you
craze.
get an initial bite like you do with an IPA.
Yeah.
But I think that what turned out well, that I'm just really happy about and hoping to recreate, is the fact that it's kind of smooth in the follow through.
It is.
There's no lingering kind of taste that kind of sticks on your tongue. You kind of get a bite at first and then smooth the rest of the way out.
I gotta say, I am absolutely shocked.
That's a homebrew. Yeah,
That's really good.
It turned out nicely.
It's got a good head on it.
I really wouldn't expect something that delicious.
Well, I will have to say that
I feel like this should be like your 5th or 6th go through, like not your first.
I worked on it a little bit with a guy at the homebrew store, and he's helping me with the timing of the addition of hops.
Yeah,
and
'cause apparently
things
that's a
of
big
that
thing.
nature, and he deserves some credit too, because he was kind of guiding me with this. And
Shout out homebrew guy.
yeah, Lancaster Homebrew. Yeah, give a
Shout out Lancaster
to them.
Homebrew.
Yep.
Thanks, bud.
Yep, they're the only game in town, but they're pretty knowledgeable and they're really friendly and they're very helpful. So certainly got
Good
some
people there.
Got a great assist there, and I think the product came out pretty nicely. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Like I wouldn't exactly call. I don't know if I'd say it was an amber. What kind of? Like I'm struggling
Yeah,
on
it's
how to
a-
describe the color of this. It is
Looks
very
like
hazy.
cider. It kind of looks like apple cider.
Well, I mean, it is unfiltered, so
Yeah.
you won't get the
A little bit of
clarity.
haze.
Like even when you hold it
Okay.
up to light, you won't be able to see through it.
Oh no.
Yeah. So there's definitely some hop resin in there, but I think it aids in the flavor. I don't think it hurts it. A lot of people like to see a clear beer, but a lot of brewers prefer unfiltered beers just because you lose some of the flavor when you do filter things out. And some people prefer a clean look, some people prefer taste. So I think I prefer taste.
I can't express how smooth that finishes off.
It really does.
Like that
finish
leaves
smooth.
my palate instantly wanting more.
Yeah, it turned out very well. And
For an 8%, man, it's not that doesn't have a crazy alcohol like aftertaste that I get anyways from a lot of other higher percentage
No,
beers.
it just
Yeah.
tastes like an IPA.
And once you get up into 8s, 9s, and 10s, a lot of
That gets barley.
a lot of
wine to me.
companies
They
seem
bite.
like they add flavor that kind of covers up the alcohol, but this kind of blends in with it, and it's solid. I'm happy with it.
What kind of yeast did you use? Because one of the things I was reading about the Heady Topper is that they use some special secret yeast, which I assume they didn't give you. So what kind of yeast did you use?
Oh well, they actually gave me liquid yeast that I hadn't used before, and I forget what it is off the top of my head. I probably should have known that, but what I did was a yeast starter, so it was liquid yeast, and I had that kind of like growing a little bit ahead of time, and they said it just adds in the process. If it's called a yeast starter, so you get yeast up to a certain temperature and everything, and when you're ready to add the yeast, the yeast is already growing and it's hungry for things. So once it goes into the beer, it starts going to town and doing what it does as far
Right
as
away.
fermentation goes. So
Okay.
I think that helped out as well. Yeah, I got a nice little beaker and a magnetic pill and a spinner, and it kind of took care of the yeast ahead of time. So
Yeah, he
I
has
don't
a
know
whole-
if
He's
I
got
did.
Bunsen and Beaker.
He's
over
a
there?
whole Breaking Bad situation down his basement, man. It's fantastic.
Well, and true by trade, I am a pharmacist, and I do have a minor in chemistry, so it's kind of things I was familiar with. So we started a little bit ahead of time as far as the yeast goes. And
Brad making
I think it
drugs.
helped.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yes, I was lucky enough to be there for this. When he was making, I sort of helped him. Went, yeah, it's time.
So you're kind of the Jesse Pinkman of this situation.
yeah, kind of.
So
Yeah, bitch.
yeah, well,
Perfect.
let's kind of go through our scale here, and maybe we can give it. I mean, a realistic grade for being a homebrew, but yeah, just kind of say what you think of it. I mean, I think.
Oh, I did want to comment on the smell. Actually, now I'm 3/4 of the way through the beverage, but before, when I was smelling it initially, back when it was fresh out of the freezer, it smelled great. I got like hints of vanilla. I wasn't exactly sure
I
where
didn't
that
get any
came
vanilla in
from.
there, really?
Yeah,
I
it could have been the e-cig too.
Yeah.
the goal is to get a little bit of a slight citrusy kind of hint to it. I don't know if you catch any of that on it. I think the aroma, that's probably where it needs a little bit more of the work. I think the taste is excellent. It probably could use a little bit more as far as it's not a bad scent. But it's not overbearing. It's not.
No,
it seems kind of neutral now that I'm getting into it.
It's not a powerful fragrance. So maybe that's the late edition hops and the dry hops. Maybe I have to do a little bit better job of figuring out what I need to add at the end of the beer. But
the head on this is still going strong, like halfway through.
Yeah, it's a nice head. It came out really nice.
Carbonated pretty well. Tastes pretty good.
Tastes fantastic.
And I would say the aroma is probably where it needs a little bit more of the work, but the taste itself is pretty good for an IPA. Like I said, it bites you at first as an IPA does.
Yeah.
But then it comes off smooth, rolls off the tongue, and it's great. And
yeah, that's almost
I
got like a
myself.
thicker, almost like a thicker mouthfeel, like I would expect from a stout or something.
Absolutely.
But that's the kind I like.
But that's
an
the
imperial
Heady Topper
stout.
key is that you're taking someone.
That's what's hard to get.
A beer style that people kind of get the bitter beer face from, and making it a smooth drinkable beer. And
it's a smooth operator there.
It was mission accomplished. And each batch kind of has its own mind. So the thing is, when I try to do this the second time, am I going to be able to replicate this? So
Right.
That's a very good question.
So this batch came out very nicely. So I was pretty happy about that.
So do you have something planned next? What's the next B-Red Beer Works edition?
Oh, we have the Trogs Nugget Nectar clone that will be bottled this weekend. So when that comes up, and take about 2 weeks to carbonate. So hopefully for the Super Bowl, we'll have a Trogs Nugget Nectar clone to
nice
sample. If not, we have Four Locos to try. Punishment beer if we end up losing.
If they lose in the Super Bowl, was the
yeah.
punishment beer for the Four Locos. Let us, if I may, to tell you the Four Loko story. We have a Four Loko that, our mother-in-law gave us. Brad and I have the same mother-in-law. Yeah, we're lucky like that. And and she is a interesting woman, is what she is. And she gets confused pretty easily. And she apparently took a Four Loko to her first day at her job, thinking it was an energy drink, and busted it at lunch, where a surprised, I assume, coworker said, "You know that's an alcoholic beverage, right?" And she said, "Oh no!" And that has now become legend. And that Four Loko now lives in my beer fridge, in the beer fridge of Beers and Birds. It's there. It's waiting for us.
She thought she was just going to be a go-getter and be like, I'm really ready to go.
Yeah, she's going to drink that 22 down, get to business. But no, that was a Four Loko, son. And after we laughed our eyes out after that story, somehow it came to us. It was in her fridge for a while, and now it lives in mine. And it's been there for I want to say 3-4 years now.
Aged to perfection.
I'm afraid it might kill us, but it is there.
And we've talked a lot about punishment beers when the Eagles finally lose, but they've been winning so much we haven't had a chance to really drink it. It's going to be coming up or not coming up shortly. I mean, hopefully they win out. We don't know.
It'll have to be in either 1 or 3 weeks.
That's right.
Yeah.
But
well, hopefully not. Maybe it could be 9 months.
So that's in there waiting for us like a bomb. So
I guess just this is not Heady Topper. It's a good beer, and we like it.
It's Bratty Topper.
But let's go.
It is.
Let's review kind of what Rate Beer and Beer Advocate said about
let's see
Heady
what
Topper itself.
Heady, because it, like I said, it is what they call the unicorn beer because people go bananas.
Let me do a quick shout out to Keith Samuelson.
Yeah, Keith,
Paul Olak,
Paul,
and Jason Hess.
What up,
who
Jason?
have friended the Beers and Birds Untapped.
Good people, all of you.
Best man of the company.
We like you. So the Alchemist Heady Topper, let's go Beer Advocate first because they're a little more stingy with it. They gave it a 4.72 out of 5 rating, a world-class rating.
World class.
That's got to be. I mean, think about the best beers we've been reviewing. 4.1, 4.2, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing anything too much above 4.2 something, and then all of a sudden you have this beer that all the ratings taken together of 4.72 out of 5. That's pretty amazing. And these guys aren't the easy graders.
Yeah, no.
They're not the participation award guys.
No.
They're not afraid to kind of call it as they see it. Heady Topper is a fantastic beer, and like I said, if you want to spend money, you can get it. If you want to drive to Vermont, you can get it.
Hey, I looked. The closest place that sells it to us, Brooklyn. We can go to.
Oh, okay.
We can go to Brooklyn.
They delve down into.
I got a
New
friend
York
that lives
City
in
now.
Brooklyn.
How about that?
Well, you got a town to fetch some.
I think I should.
How
Might have been the Bronx. I think it was actually the Bronx now.
Oh, okay.
How close is it to the Bronx? It's in New York City.
Say Brooklyn's the hipster area.
Yeah.
Well, they've actually expanded their radius then because for a while you could only get it in Vermont, but now you can get it in New York
Maybe it was
City,
one
so,
special deal.
Yeah. I think it's cans though. I think a dude just goes up there, gets them for that bar, and drives them down. I don't think they have it on tap. I think he's just serving it in cans. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a Kramer Newman recycling run situation where as long as the weight and gas
We
and
could charge
leverage,
$20 a can.
slight spill over into a final truck. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, but 4.72 out of 5 from those guys.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's the highest I've seen, and I don't know that anything's higher. I mean, you probably look at the Russian Rover because one of the top 50 lists I looked at that Pliny the Elder actually had overtaken Heady Topper as the number 1 beer in the country. So maybe something like that gets a similar score, but you're probably because there's always going to be a naysayer. There are people that just won't get 5s and people that just don't like it as much as other people. But for your overall average to be 4.72, that's a damn good beer.
It sure is.
Well, I can tell you what they did. Here's Pliny the Elder right here. I can tell you right now what they gave that. 4.65.
Okay, 4.65.
Now
It is
right there.
It's a little bit under. This still, according to Beer Advocate, it's a little bit. Pliny's a little bit under our friend here, Heady Topper.
I was looking for that when I visited my sister in San Diego. No go. Couldn't find it.
Oh, the
apparently
Russian River.
The cities in California that I think are very close aren't all that close over there.
Apparently, it's a real big state.
Yeah.
and there are distribution issues, timing of when they make it.
True.
We couldn't get Founders here. Here in Orlandosville, like our local Hempfield brewer just got Founders all day.
That's right.
I mean, probably in the last couple months. Get on Hempfield Beverage. We love the fact you got it, though. We do.
Yeah.
Don, thanks,
Don. Thanks, Don. So,
yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I wish I knew the name of that cat. I'd shout that out too.
We'll get it.
So now we get the participation award, guys. What did these guys give it? I mean,
our friends at Rate Beer gave it 100 out of 100 out of 100 out of 100. So
100 overall, 100 style. So they thought this is the best beer. You can never make a beer. That's the one problem about giving your highest score is that you say all beers can only equal this. No beer can ever be better.
Right.
And that's where I have a little bit of problem. Nothing's ever the best. I mean, look in sports. We talk about sports a lot. Like, records are meant to be broken, and this is a great beer. But to have its top side be where every other beer can only meet it, who am I to say that there can't be a better beer than...
Maybe you have to pull Roger
It doesn't necessarily
Goodell.
have to be better. It can be as, you know what I mean? Like a gymnastics performance, a lot of people get 10s. You know what
Just
I mean?
change
Not
the
everybody
rules.
does. I mean, like, they can still be great performances.
Yeah, that's because the people giving the scores are from Rate Beer.
They're the paid-off Russian judge. Is that what I'm hearing?
Sponsored by Rate Beer.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So I'm gonna set a couple of these aside. I'm starting classes at the American Brewers Guild next week, and I have finals in July.
ABG.
So I am gonna grab some Heady Topper, and I'm gonna hold on to a couple of the bomber bottles of this.
Because your finals are in Vermont.
You wanna do a
right?
blind
They
taste
are.
test kind
They
of
are.
thing?
I think it's Drop In Brewing Company in July. My finals are there.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna
Good time to go to Vermont.
I'm gonna bring that back.
Yes, you will.
And I'm going to match it up against this, and we'll see if it's close.
Great.
I mean, the beers may even taste different, so I want to see how close it is and how good it is when you're comparing it to the best.
Right.
Yeah.
To the actual 100 out of 100.
So something fun for the downtime when camp's starting and all that good
Yeah.
stuff.
So.
That's right. And we're reviewing fifth round
That's
rookie
right.
offensive tackles.
And hopefully we will review more of the B-Rad Works or whatever you name it.
Braddy Topper.
Well, this is the Braddy Topper. I'm
Oh,
saying
yeah.
the B-Rad Beer Works.
The Beer Rad Beer Works.
Say it again. B-Rad Beer Works.
The Beer Rad Beer Works.
Speaking of fifth round
Excitement.
tackles, let's talk about Vitae and the Eagles going up against the Vikings and bring our
What?
boy
NFC
Sean
Championship.
Cottrell. Let's bring Sean back on.
Let's get the ringer in here.
Where you at,
What's going
brother?
on, guys?
How are you?
How you doing, Sean?
Doing good. NFC Championship.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Can't help but be excited. I mean, I still, I haven't come down from the excited state I was in after the victory. I'm still equally hyped and excited, and I think, like you said, a little bit nervous. And it turns out by a miracle, a play that will never be lived down. It's going to live in
that poor kid
infamy in every Saints fan's mind. The big completion to Diggs to score a touchdown on the last play of the game.
The Minnesota Miracle?
Minnesota Vikings are coming here next week.
The Williams whiff.
I like that better.
Yeah.
Because that's more accurate.
Yeah, so
You heard it here first.
how you
Williams
guys
whiff.
feel about the matchup? I know we talked about it a little bit, and last week it was Sean that was kind of leaning towards not wanting to play the Vikings, and
Honestly,
I want to know if that's sticking.
honestly,
I wanna know
watching
if
that
anything's
game,
changed
the
here.
more I watched that game versus Saints, the more I was sort of agreeing with Sean. I was like, oh, shit. Because I guess I never watched the Vikings a whole lot this season, so I didn't really get a feel for how they are. Yeah, they look pretty good. I mean, matching up with Drew Brees and stuff. So, I mean, in their defense, didn't the defense hold them like the first half?
the first half they shut them out. It was 17-0 at half. So
They did. Honestly, I was I probably switched 10 times on who I wanted to play during that game.
Fair enough.
I mean, the beginning of the game was just crazy. But after thinking about it, kind of just snowballed for the Saints. They got a couple of really bad pass interference calls that set the Vikings up in good position. They had a couple turnovers. It just everything went against them, it seemed, in the first half. And as you're watching it as a fan of the Eagles, you're thinking wow, they're a class above the Saints.
yeah,
But then as the game went on, you saw that they're not really. And honestly, the Saints, even with Breeze, wouldn't scare me as much if it wasn't for Alvin Kamara.
he is a freak.
Breeze
He
is
really
obviously Breeze is obviously great. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but I don't think they're nearly the team they are without Kamara. It was that the second half was the Alvin Kamara show. If it wasn't for him, they're not even. That game's over.
He reminds me a lot of Marshall Faulk, just a difference maker, just great at receiving, pretty good at running. I mean, if he doesn't break down because of size, he's going to be a problem, a thorn in people's side for years to come. He's really good. He's really good.
Yeah, my fear with him, if I was a Saints fan, is that he's really good, but he doesn't play the same kind of game that other really good passing backs play. He's really tough, and he's a really tough runner. He bounces off of tackles. My fear with him is because of his size and his physicality. It's going to wear him down over time. But at least for the next 5 or 6 years, he's going to be a force. He's just so good.
I think, that's the one thing that scares me if I was a Saints fan is his slight stature, that time after getting tackled so much that maybe he loses a little bit of his quickness and speed. He's listed as 215, but that doesn't look like 215 to me. That looks more like 205, maybe closer to 2. Yeah. And I don't know that kind of back can handle the pounding they're looking at. I mean, maybe that's why they have the good balance with Ingram and him. They don't have to run him as much as a featured back, and maybe they want to keep him fresh, and they can, going to Ingram is not really that much of a downgrade, but he's limited in what he's going to do. He's not going to probably break a 80-yard run or anything like that, but, Ingram can run between the tackles and be more than adequate as far as a running back, and you kind of save some of the wear and tear on Kamara. So that's a good 1-2 punch there. They have a good thing going.
Yeah, so as the game went on, I started thinking maybe I was wrong. I still have my fears about the Vikings and what they can do and what kind of game it could be. But at the end of the day, I kind of left that game thinking you know what, Eagles could play a miraculous game against the Saints, and Drew Brees could come down and just win it anyway, and that would be such a horrible way to end the season. So I'll take my chances with Case Keenum and Skull.
And they're not good with pressure. If Keenum gets pressure, he's not super great.
I had to legit look on Twitter what the heck Skull was and what it meant. I had no idea.
Well, it's from Viking lineage, right? It's the one they played before they went into battle.
Yeah, apparently it's just their term for toast
Cheers,
or
right?
cheers.
Yeah, it's cheers.
It's like skull.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Rob,
like a Viking term.
Rob, to your point, Keenum's actually been surprisingly good this year. I think under this past game, I think there's a stat going around. This is probably what you're referring to.
Yeah.
This past game, his like quarterback rating when he had a clean pocket was really good. I forget what it was. Quarterback rating under pressure was 5.
Yeah, we saw that
from this past game. But through most of the season, I thought he was pretty, at least in like feeling the pressure, maneuvering the pocket, being able to step up into it. I thought he was pretty good. But in that game, he had he had at least 3 passes that were just like Eli Manning duck balls. You just like toss up in the air, die like a dead duck, and just like pray. Somehow, like that last drive, Adam Thielen, he threw one on the last drive. Adam Thielen went up and grabbed it.
I swear his eyes were closed when he threw that, by the way. I really think they were.
So, yeah, I think they said, we saw a stat too, that the under pressure catch rate by the Vikings receivers, they were number 1 with Diggs and number 4 in the league, Thielen.
Yeah, their contested catch rate.
When he's looking to heave, there's no better people to heave it up to than those two guys. So that's a little bit of a scare. But the under pressure stat, like, it's not only being under pressure, it's how quickly you're under pressure. Are you waiting 5 seconds before you feel heat, or is the pressure coming at 2 seconds? And the receivers haven't had a chance to kind of get into their routes. So I think we do have a chance there to kind of exploit them. They've had some injuries on the offensive line, and our front 4 can get some pressure. So if we can get pressure early and get him back on his heels and maybe get some of those wounded Eli-type ducks, that maybe we can – win the turnover battle, and that's going to be key.
Need to win the turnover battle.
Yeah, I mean, we just,
even snagging 1 pick.
We're probably not going to score a ton of points, so we have to be, kind of
short field Nick when you can, because he might need it.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be one of the keys of the game, winning the turnover battle, and at least being even. Nick can't afford to have any of his bad Nick.
You can't have bad Nick at all. Yeah.
No, like I kind of like a backup quarterback that when all else breaks down, like he can run for a first down, and Foles just isn't that type of quarterback. That will never happen. So it's limited in that he can only do he will only ever do things with his arm.
No. But what do you guys think offensively? What do you think that they should do? Sean, you've been doing a review for Crossing Broad as far as the Vikings defense goes. So what do you think that the Eagles can do to kind of maybe exploit mismatches or create an advantage?
So there's a couple things, and none of them are really, you can't build, you can't come out and build your game plan around these things. These are more like constraint type things that kind of keep them off balance or give you a nice play here and there. But they're also at the same time kind of reliant on your ability just to execute your normal assignment. So one of the things I saw, obviously they have a great run defense. One of the reasons their run defense is so good is because they can trust their defensive backs and safeties so much that they almost always bring a safety down in the box on rundown. So you're looking at an 8-man box. So one of the things off the top is messing with your personnel, right? So when they come down, bring 8 men in the box. If you come out in heavy personnel, we have the advantage of having some pretty good tight ends, so we can bring out Selleck and Ertz and Burton, put them all out there. They'll respond with their base package, which they bring out a rookie linebacker, Ben Gideon, he's done okay, but he's not a space player. He's pretty slow. So I think there's some mismatches there where you can bring those guys in, flex them out wide, spread them out, and get those guys in space. Like I think Anthony Barr is a really athletic player, but he's not very quick twitch. So I think somebody like Trey Burton or Ertz, or even like Corey Clement could be a nice mismatch on him. And then same with the other linebacker, Ben Gideon. So I think there's some mismatches if you were to do it that way. Also, conversely, I think if you spread them out, I think get to a 6-man box. You can run on those guys in a 6-man box. The Eagles' offensive line has had a really good year overall running the football, and in watching the Saints game, that's a lot of what they did. They were pretty successful running the ball when they were able to spread things out a little bit in 11 personnel and just get 6 guys in the box. They moved the ball pretty well out of that in those situations. And then the last thing is kind of small, but because of how quick those linebackers are, they tend to they're pretty fast flow, so they'll commit pretty quickly. So if you bust out some misdirections, if you do some bootlegs or like a tight end screen off the backside of a run play, or even some RPOs, if the linebacker drops down off the run read really quickly, I think the linebackers can be had with some misdirection. A lot of what the Saints did, a lot of the successful plays the Saints ran were off of misdirection. I think one play specifically they scored a touchdown on where they had Alvin Kamara in the backfield. Drew Brees takes the snap from under center and does a fake pitch outside to Kamara. The whole defense, including the single high safety, start flowing to the outside, and then Brees keeps the ball and throws it to Michael Thomas, who runs a slant right into the middle of the field because the safety had vacated with the run. So little things like that, misdirection. I think these guys will jump and they'll move quickly if you kind of show them one thing and go to the other. So that's, again, small advantages, little things you can scheme up, but for those things to work, your base offense, your regular stuff has to be able to get going a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking a little bit before, much to kind of like what you alluded to. We were talking about like maybe being a little bit more heavy on the 13 personnel, bringing in Burton along with Ertz and Selleck, and doing a little RPO, letting Foles identify what the defense is, and kind of utilizing that to his advantage, whether you call a run or you pull it back, and Burton's kind of out running routes. And we also identified, we think that the Nelson Aguilar matchup, it sounds like more likely than not Terrence Newman would be matched up on him, but I think that's an advantage Eagles. So there are places he can look. And, there have been games, Aguilar's had some big games, and if you identify that he could beat Newman on a regular basis, maybe that's a place you're looking. Burton, like you said, matched up against some of their linebackers, that's another place you're looking. And obviously with 13 personnel, if they start kind of playing the pass a little bit more, maybe start pounding the ball behind Brooks and Lane Johnson, and you can do some things. And I mean, the naysayers are saying, oh, the Eagles might even get shut out here. And I don't think that's the case. I think the Eagles will score points. I think it's going to be who makes more mistakes. I think the mistakes are going to be a big thing. And, if we can keep it kind of even as far as the turnovers go, that we've got a good chance to win the game. So the line is down to 3 now. I think the Atlanta line was 2.5 or 3. So yeah, it's kind of a similar kind of game as far as Vegas sees it. And we have a chance. I mean, you can't go into this game saying the Eagles don't have a chance. But
no, I don't think that's even logical.
The Eagles do not have a chance.
Well, we know you're the Negadelphian. So,
Did you guys see the home road splits for the Vikings defense?
No.
So it's pretty significant. Their run defense at home, they average 55 yards a game, like 2-point-something yards per carry. On the road, that goes up to 112 yards a game, about 4.5 yards a carry. So that's a pretty significant split. And I think somebody at Bleeding Green Nation did an analysis that I read earlier today. It was a pretty good article. They kind of looked at that split, and they said looked at what teams they played and what location to see if, hey, maybe when they were playing on the road, they were playing some really good teams, and at home they weren't.
They need some context, yeah.
But that wasn't the case, actually. The teams were pretty much even across the board. Their rushing statistics and their rushing DVOA was pretty similar. So it seems like it could be an advantage for the Eagles in that department if and that makes sense. A lot of times you're playing with the crowd noise. It's more advantageous at home for the defense. So another small advantage for the Eagles there. Also, I was talking a little bit beforehand, but in doing my analysis, I looked back at the 2016 game versus the Vikings. This personnel for both teams, in the front seven and along the offensive line is pretty similar. The Eagles were missing Lane Johnson, but they had Jason Peters. The only other difference was they had Alan Barbary instead of Wisniewski. I think we'd probably say Wisniewski's a little bit better than Barbary, or at least he has been better this year.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
And the Eagles were, I did not think I was going to see this when I looked back at that game, but the Eagles surprisingly dominated the line of scrimmage in that game. I was surprised when I was watching, like, wow, they're really getting some push. They're really kind of taking care of these guys up front. And, it's a different year. Maybe players somebody was hurt, who knows? But I just thought I'd throw that out there. I was pretty surprised when I saw that. Eagles I think we're kind of underrating their offensive line. And I would bet, with all the talk of the Vikings defense and how great they are, I'd bet their offensive line is pretty anxious to get out there and give it what they got. So we'll see.
I think so. You just have to hope that people like Ajayi don't have a untimely fumble. And I dug back into Ajayi's history as far as fumbling goes, because I was like, it seems like he fumbles a lot, but he actually doesn't. He really doesn't fumble a lot. That was only his second lost fumble for the Eagles this year, and he actually only had one with the Dolphins.
Really? Because he does seem like a fumbler.
Yeah, he seems to have that
I
tag.
thought so, but
It's just like an LJ Smith situation.
only had one lost fumble with the Dolphins, so he's not like that Tiki Barber kind of thing where he had to adjust the way he's holding the ball, like to stop fumbling or whatever.
I remember seeing Tiki Barber fumble 3 times in one game.
He's not a perennial fumbler, but I mean, teams have identified something where he keeps the ball maybe a little bit loose on the follow through. Usually, like when he's fighting for an extra yard, that's where he loses
he gets
it.
He does that a lot, too.
Just kind of like
high exertion for an extra 2 yards at the end of runs.
In the grand scheme, yeah. And I use that in the grand scheme of
You
things.
did.
I'm bringing
I was
it back.
excited.
I brought it back.
The
NFC Championship. Absolutely, Sean. You bring it back to the
That's
championship.
good luck. That's a championship cliche.
Damn,
Fuck
Skippy.
outta here. So, yeah, no, there are times when you start to feel contact and you find that the play's going to, be over in a short period of time. That's when you have to protect. You can't.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter in the big picture to fight for an extra yard here or there. I mean, it might on a given play, but overall, you need to protect the ball more.
If it's not
than you
third
need to
down,
get extra yard. Unless you're going for a touchdown to grab the lead late in the game, there's no reason you should extend the ball or try to expose yourself on a run. So hopefully the coaching got to him and.
You got to watch that exposing yourself now.
Put him in the spot. Yeah, exposing yourself is not good,
especially in today's society.
Yeah, no,
They don't like, it's frowned upon.
Yeah, some people frown upon that, but some people like being exposed.
Yeah, like the Vikings defense will be shortly.
What do you guys think about? Oh, I'm sorry, Sean. Go ahead.
Sorry, Rob. I think it's going to be a big game for the obviously for Nick Foles, but for the combination of Foles and Kelsey, because the Vikings defense is also very very tricky. Like they run a lot of exotic blitz looks, especially with Foles. I could see them running a lot more than they typically do. They like to come up and mug the A gaps, kind of dictating the protection that the Eagles will call, and then rush somebody off the edge instead where there's nobody there. They'll also mix up their coverages a ton. Their safeties are pretty much interchangeable. So if Andrew Sendejo is ready to go out of concussion protocol, which it sounds like he's going to be, that's a big get for them. Him and Harrison Smith are pretty interchangeable. They move all around the formation, and they'll change stuff at the last second. Like they are very good on the back end, so they can switch up their coverages at the last second and really throw some wrinkles at the quarterback, which will be. It'll be a big game for Kelsey calling the protections up front, and a big game for Foles being able to recognize that stuff when he's taking his drop.
So, how often do you think they're going to do like run pass option frequency wise? Do you think they're going to utilize that a fair amount, or?
I do pretty decently because I think it's Peterson's going to have, just like he did with Atlanta, he's going to have to find a way to get Foles comfortable in the game, whether that's and maybe the running game doesn't get going early on. He's going to have to do that kind of stuff. He's going to have to run some screens, run some quick outs, run some RPOs. It's just like simple little throws to get Foles kind of in the rhythm of the game. So I think just because of that, you'll probably see it. But also because, you have to, if this defense is going to play you tough against the run, you have to give them something else to think about. So I think we'll probably see that quite a bit this week.
And I think, like you said a little bit before, but I want to reinforce what you said by, I think so as well, that when they're playing like single high safety, like that misdirection, one of Alshon's great passes is the slant. So if you're able to kind of, indicate flows going one way and you have Alshon opposite, you could fake a pitch or a handoff and kind of go to Alshon for the middle range gains, the 15 to 20-yard gains that, I think could really benefit the Eagles. So I know there's a lot of talk about him being shut down this week, but I expect him to be his regular 4 for 61 kind of guy where he catches some timely slants to kind of move the ball forward and get him into scoring position. So I don't think it's going to be completely shut down. But
that actually reminds me. I'm glad you brought that up. Is that Alshon Jeffrey, Xavier Rhodes matchup? Looking back historically, he's had some good matchups with Rhodes over the years in his time in Chicago, but he's done pretty well. Like he's had some good battles with him. It's not like he's played him and gotten shut down. So I think like the storylines you're hearing is just like he's not playing like that elite number one, or he's not putting up the elite number one receiver stats. So we kind of assume that a good corner will shut him down. But I'm not, I'm not like 100% sold on that. I also think there's an advantage on the other side. The other corner, what is his name again?
Trey Waynes.
Trey Waynes, yeah, he gets picked on a lot. And you mentioned the matchup in the slot with Aguilar on Terrence Newman or Mackenzie Alexander. When I was watching the Saints game, they beat them. So they're pretty good in all different types of coverages. They run a lot of man coverage too, but the Saints smoked them twice on the same play for touchdowns. Except one of the touchdowns doesn't end up getting called back, where they come out in like a tight formation with two receivers who are kind of tight to the formation, and they, crisscross middle of the field, both run kind of deep routes towards the corner, towards the pylons, and both receivers were wide open. Like you get them in man coverage. Those guys are big; they can run with you, they can be physical with you down the sideline. But if you ask them to run across the field, I don't think they're like, the shiftiest of guys. So I think they can be beat if you get them in space and you're running into space. I think they can be beat. So that's another opportunity. I'm thinking specifically about that play, against the Cardinals this year, where Torrey Smith got wide open coming across the. That was like Torrey Smith's only big play of the year.
That sounds about right.
He's the PI champion, friends.
Something similar to that play. I think you might see the Eagles maybe try to pull that one out.
So you just need some offensive line protection in order to get that kind of thing done, because that's not a fast developing play to run from one side of the field to the other.
And for better or for worse, for how poor Torrey's overall statistics look, he did incur quite a few pass interference penalties.
He has.
That's veteran savvy for you.
That is his job.
So,
he gets PIs.
that should count in his favor, because, that's yardage that he got. Not by catching the ball. Actually, I'd rather that he get pass interfered with than him be wide open and somebody throw a ball near him and him have to catch it with those oven mitt hands he has.
Yeah.
They're made of brick.
His fingers don't work as individual units. It's just like try to pinch a hand on a ball.
It's like watching
He's
a
got
crab
a sponsorship
yeah.
for some kind of mittens.
He's got crab hands.
He's Mr. Krabs.
He's got Mr. Krabs.
The cooking channel. Yeah, he's promoting some kind of oven mitt. Yeah.
He's taking him to Flavor Town.
So, yeah,
sure was.
So yeah, we've talked a lot about that. So let's.
I have a question though. This is some looking at the top 5 things from friend of the podcast, Jimmy Kemsky. I can't even say the man's name right again.
Oh wait a minute, did that just happen?
I did.
I was going away for
every
a quick
time
bathroom break, but
90% of the time
Jimmy
it happens every
Jimmy
time.
Kemkins. Do you like that one better, Jimmy? Do you like that one better? Is that better than Kemp?
Well, I think Kapansky's closer to Kemsky than
I just stumbled on that shit. Jimmy Kemsky, friend of the podcast. We still love you, Jimmy. But he said, our friend Jimmy said, Case Keenum versus the Elements. I fuck up everyone's name. This is surprising to you. Anyways, but he said Case Keenum versus the elements, that Case Keenum he's been a dome quarterback the majority of his career, except for that season in Los Angeles, which is not exactly horrible weather. But I think what is it supposed to be, 55 or 51 with a low of 57, the winds at 10 miles an hour. You think this going to have any impact, Sean?
I guess it can. He throws kind of a weird ball, almost like a shot put. He gets a lot of air under his ball. Almost like a Phillip Rivers type of throw, but maybe not as exaggerated. He gets a lot of air under his ball, though. So I could definitely see if the wind's a factor, that could be an issue for him. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that cold. I think it's supposed to be like 53, so that kind of sucks. But at the same time, Foles kind of sucks in the cold too. So
yeah, all right. And he was also in L.A. last year, so.
Yeah, I mean, it unfortunately, the way it's looking now, it doesn't look like the weather is going to be much of a factor. But I mean, having said that, like you said, just being outside, period, outside on grass is slower than in a dome. I'd say that's probably small advantage Eagles, but who knows? You never really know with those types of things.
Well, I think the link will be out of its mind too, so they got to deal with that.
You know what I'm a little worried about under the radar?
Ed Hockley's muscles. Is that it?
We're always worried about that.
Well, the dog masks.
Yeah.
Because you know how all the dog masks sold out on Amazon and everyone's wearing them to the game?
That's right.
Well, are they going to muffle the noise?
Interesting.
That's a very good question.
Maybe they'll flip them up on top of their heads while they're screaming.
Maybe you can just wear it on your fist.
I would hope so, but there's going to be people. Like, there's thousands of people going to be wearing those masks. That's a lot of muffled noise. I'm a little worried about that. I
think those drunk savages will be able to get some decibels out.
If Atlanta can pipe in crowd noise, why can't the link?
Jimmy Kempkins, I salute you.
Jimmy Kempkins. Good man, that Jimmy Kempkins. I like him.
So,
once in a while.
So, now let's flip the switch. Let's go Eagles D versus, Keenum and the Vikings offense. What are your thoughts there?
All right, let me get into this. As a big fan of the Jerick McKinnon Spark Score and Stephon Diggs, I'm a fantasy owner of both those guys. Watched a lot of Vikings offense this year.
Damn near makes you an expert.
Yeah, pretty much. Keenum actually really, people have been shitting on Keenum for a while, and I'm like, Keenum's not the same guy anymore. He's legitimately like a good quarterback now. The Birds will shut down Latavius Murray. Latavius Murray is garbage. Jerick McKinnon, I really hope they don't try to take advantage of him in the passing game, because I think that could be a problem. But
why?
We've seen Michael Kendricks try to cover running backs in the passing game before, and it typically doesn't go well. But that's not something the Vikings have made a habit of, so they could do it, but I wouldn't expect them to.
McKinnon's been he's like the Donnell Pumphrey of small, fast guys.
Woo! Whoa, now, this is blasphemous.
Does he have quick feet, then?
He has no idea of how to play football. He has great athletic scores.
But he can bench 225 a million times.
He has linear speed, but I've seen so many times where you running plays to him and he just runs into the back of his offensive lineman, and it's almost like Tecmo Bowl or Madden where you're kind of sitting there waiting for him to go to the hole. But yeah, I don't think he has a good football acumen.
So he's more like Forrest Gump. They just give him the ball and he just runs.
I think so. I mean, otherwise...
He's like the Ernie Sims of running backs then. He doesn't know where to go, but he does it quickly.
Based on the athletic scores, yeah. When you get him into space and he can run straight, he's a problem.
Yeah. I heard pit bulls described that way before. They have no idea what they're doing, but they know they're doing the hell out of it.
Yeah.
They're just bundles of energy. But anyway.
My fear is McKinnon on a screen pass where he has an opening and a gap that... He could exploit us, because he's very fast and he can run straight. If he gets a couple of blockers outside and he gets a crease, that he could be a problem.
Right.
So, yeah, that's
problem
for me.
They
many problems I'm having right now.
Yeah, Brad's Bratty Topper.
Along with the foamy Bratty Topper.
For you listening at home, Brad just got himself another Bratty Topper, cracked the bottle, and now will not stop foaming out. So we're watching Brad just suck all the foam off continuously.
Anyways,
Anyways,
they take advantage of. They funnel a lot of offense through just those two wide receivers. They pretty much move down the field with just the occasional 2-yard run and Thielen and Diggs,
yeah,
and they're awesome.
those two are going to be a problem.
And then they actually make a lot of hay in the red zone with Rudolph, basically just because he's 6'6" and
he's a big
knows
man.
how to use his body. And I'm not sure if
He's got good hands, too.
anyone. Yeah, he does. Like, he's a coordinated big dude.
Yeah, not fast.
The Eagles don't really have someone, I think, that can match up with him really well in the red zone. Like, that would be a Malcolm Jenkins assignment, and I would hope so, but Malcolm Jenkins is still 6'2".
Yeah, it could be a tough matchup. Overall, like you said, I don't think Murray's going to be an overall problem. I think he's going to be shut down.
he's not
always the
talented.
screenplays, and the tackling in the late season wasn't great, and that's what I fear. That you call the screenplay at the right time against the right defense, and you get an opening, and you get somebody like McKinnon that can take something small and make it into a really big play. So that's kind of what I fear.
But luckily, the Eagles don't blitz a lot, and I think they will generate a lot of pressure. Sean, give me some takes here.
I pretty much agree with what you said. I think the one other guy I was thinking about who has potential for like Joe Webb type potential.
Oh no!
Is,
what a cursed name!
Jarius Wright, I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah, that's right.
Like their fourth receiver, who's pretty quick, pretty fast guy. They're obviously going to be focusing on Diggs and Rudolph and Thielen. And I could just see Wright giving them some problems too, and like some key third downs. I was a little worried. I'm still a little worried that they want to get the ball out of Keenum's hands pretty quickly. And if I was Pat Shurmur, who by the way just interviewed with the Giants and got the Giants job,
He did.
I wouldn't be surprised.
The
if
head
he
coaching job.
He did.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
That's official? No way.
Patricia is at the Lions, and now he is the coach of the Giants.
Good. Hopefully
Okay,
that
this
won't be
must
in the
have just
game.
been today.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he's been talking with the Giants and saying like, "Hey, how'd that Eagles game go? How'd you
guys seem to
attack
get
the
'em."
Eagles?" And they're like, "Oh, well, we just threw the ball as soon as we got it, so that our offensive line sucked, their defensive line was good, and we wanted to neutralize it, so we just got rid of the ball."
That Jalen Mills guys doesn't cover guys dudes right away.
Yeah. So, and Jim Schwartz just kind of he'll let you have it, but then eventually he'll tackle you, but then eventually somebody miss a tackle, and then we'll get like a 75-yard touchdown. So I'm a little scared of that game. If that's their game plan, oh my, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's going to be frustrating as hell because, and I've said it before, I agree with how Schwartz game plans that. Like I think we're mismatched. I think they have the advantage as receivers to our secondary. So you don't really want to match up with them one-on-one and be super aggressive, jump in the slant. You want to kind of give them that and make tackles and make them make a mistake. But at the time, we've done that a few times and it hasn't worked. Our guys get antsy and they start jumping stuff, and then sluggo, and they get burned for a 60-yard touchdown, or they miss a tackle. So I'm
gotta wrap 'em up.
nervous. But I'm nervous about that. However, I will say that the Vikings, for some reason, are really good at sticking to the run, even though they probably shouldn't because their running game sucks. So that's kind of encouraging. Like, if you want to stick to the run, I'm 100% confident that that's not going to work. So, by all means. And that, if you're running on first down, that kind of sets you up. Maybe you get like a nice little Thielen slant for 5 yards on second down. Get the 3rd and 5. That's much better than the Thielen slant for 7 on first down, and then a 2-yard run, and then a 3rd and 1. So if they want to run the ball, I'm all for it. I hope that's their game plan. But and that's kind of what they've done so far this year. But if they go the Giants route, it could be a long, frustrating day. That's the one kryptonite of this Eagles defense.
Basically,
But, do you think Schwartz's game plan is saying we're going to impose our will on you and we're going to do what we do? Or do you think he takes the Giants game into consideration and sees that they're kind of good at these slants and kind of does something to kind of change things up a little bit?
I guess that's possible. It again. It just depends on how much confidence you have in your guys, right? Like, are you confident Jalen Mills is going to in Darby are going to be able to match up with those guys and shut down those slants and the pass breakup and miss the tackle and
the missed tackles? That's the thing. Wrap up.
They gotta wrap 'em up.
If you can keep those plays to like that 10, 15 yard,
Right.
like where they catch it, like tackle and stop them there, then I think the Eagles are in really good shape. But if they miss tackles like they've been prone to do in certain occasions, that's going to be a real problem. I mean, you can't afford to get too far behind. You're not going to, regardless of the matchups and everything we were talking about on offense, I don't think you're going to score a ton of points. So you have to limit them after they make the catch. So if you're going to let them make that 15-yard catch, make sure you wrap up. You can't let a 15-yarder become a 70-yarder like Sterling Shepard did, and some of the other receivers did. King from the Giants and things of that nature. You just can't let the small plays become big plays. Eagles will be out of the game very quickly if that happens.
Agreed.
So are you worried about the Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs then? Like just their abilities in general? Because they usually get like 20. Thielen had 20 receptions for 20-plus yards, which is fifth in the NFL, and then Diggs had 14. And then what do you say? Nelson Aguilar led the team with 9 receptions for 20. So those guys get a lot of yards after the catch. So that's
over what? Over what time period?
The season. You mean how he had 20 receptions for 20-plus yards this season is what Thielen had.
Oh, I thought you meant 20 receptions total. I was confused.
No, I'm sorry. 20 receptions for 20-plus yards.
Yeah, I think I think Stephon Diggs is pretty underrated. I think Adam Thielen is really, really underrated. I think he's maybe one of the top 10 receivers in the league.
Is he an undrafted free agent?
He
or
is,
undrafted rookie?
which is why he has this people tend to look at him and think, man, he's a grinder, a hard worker type of guy, but he's actually just really good.
He's filthy hands. His hands are ridiculous.
Yeah, like he is a grinder and a hard worker, obviously, to get where he is. But
Right.
He's the new Jordy Nelson.
he really is. He's lightning quick in and out of his breaks. He has an incredible ability to adjust to the ball in the air. That's why I think I forget who said it earlier, but the contested catches, he's really good ability to contort his body and make some crazy catches, which is probably why Case Keenum's having such a good year, because he can just kind of toss it up and
Right. He's got
come
those
down
two.
with it. So yeah, I'm worried about those guys. I think they're going to have some type of plan for him. They're probably up there with, Julio Jones is obviously better than them, but as a tandem, they're probably up there with the best the Eagles have seen so far this year.
I will say Minnesota State has been having quite a boom in their recruiting strictly because of Adam Thielen. Like they're extremely thankful. Their recruiting has just blown up.
Really?
Is that where he went?
Yeah, he went to Minnesota State. He's
Wow.
a cold weather boy through and through.
Wasn't that the thing
He grew
on
up there?
Coach? The team on Coach, wasn't it Minnesota State?
I think it was.
I
It was
thought it was-
one of those.
I thought-
for me.
I thought it was in Minnesota and it said State across the jersey. I don't know. I thought that was it. I was just like, Minnesota State? That's not really
I remember
real
Dauber.
That was Kelsey, right? Kelsey Grammer?
No, that was
No. It was some guy that kind of looks like Kelsey Grammer, but
Brad, you are correct. It took place at the fictional division of
Craig Nelson.
Yeah, college football team, Minnesota State University, the Screaming Eagles.
Huh. I thought that was a fictional school. So Thielen went to Minnesota State, huh?
Yes, he did.
Huh. Okay.
Minnesota State University, though. I think it is a fictional school because it says the fictional Division I college football team, Minnesota State University, Screaming Eagles.
Looks like the Mighty Ducks, then they created one.
Yeah, they might have to.
Roll with the popularity.
Yay, Dauber.
Yeah, so you're not too concerned about the running game itself, though?
No, I mean, I could see, like Mike mentioned McKinnon, I could see maybe like a few quick tosses where like Vinny Curry falls down trying to get there and gives up the edge and he gets like 10, 12 yards or something, but nothing. That's all I can see happening. Like unless something like that happens, I can't see them doing much of anything on the ground. But you never know. You could always pop one. I mean,
So if you were Schwartz, what would you do? Would you continue to do what's been successful all year? Would you scheme a little bit more for the team you're playing, or?
I guess it depends on. Yeah, I think it probably for me it depends on what they'll come out and do. If they want to come out with some short stuff, I don't know. You might just have to buckle up. But after seeing Keenum last week throw at least 3 Eli balls, I might go after him a little bit. He looked like he was ready to give some stuff up last week, and I might maybe blitz a little bit more and try to get him to throw you one. So it's tough. It still baffles me how we're in this situation where we're like kind of scared of Case Keenum.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, he functions in that offense well.
He looked good.
He's been good this year.
Yeah.
That's what kind of making me mad leading up to this game, because everyone's like, "Oh, let's play Case Keenum." I'm like, Keenum's been good. Like, he's like threw 22 touchdowns to like 7 interceptions this year. He's been really good. I mean, granted, it probably has a lot to do with the situation. He's really, good year, but he's still managing. Yeah. He's not like the offense or anything, but he's been good.
It's a product of really good receivers.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he is good, but he's been good
and
this year.
And he's got that D, too. That helps, having a D like that.
Well, we were talking like any team is probably sad to see, distraught to see their starting quarterback go out. But the Vikings are the one team where there's not that much of a downgrade from if you go from a Keenum to a Bradford can do similar things to what he can do. There's not much drop off there from your 1 to your 2. So, if Keenum happens to get knocked out, I don't think it's a huge advantage for the Eagles then. Maybe even a disadvantage, because Sam Bradford played against that defense in practice every day for a couple of years. And I don't know. They're the one team. There's no drop off from the 1 to the 2.
I would actually love if Bradford came in. Like I agree with you from a talent standpoint. Talent standpoint, I don't think there's a drop off. But the guy hasn't played a game in forever. He's been hurt. And he's just like a shaky.
Yeah,
he's skittish.
Not very
he's
confident player. Like if you get in his face
12.
even a little bit, he'll throw it. He'll just toss the ball out of bounds. He wants nothing to do with standing in the pocket and getting hit to make a throw. He will occasionally, but he's had some good games, but for the most part,
he's a check down quarterback. He really is kind of not risk averse, not willing to make the big throws, and kind of likes to check down. So, but that's kind of like Keenum, except Keenum is slightly better, I guess. But
Keenum will at least throw. He might throw it short, but he's throwing it short to his. He's throwing it short to Thielen and Diggs, versus Bradford's dumping off to running backs and tight ends in the flat and picking up 2 yards. I would love to see Bradford. That'd be first to be a good storyline. Second, I just think
I think
Bradford's
Bradford's one wrong hit away from being out of the game as well. And then you're talking about bringing Bridgewater in, and hasn't thrown a meaningful pass in 2 years.
Yeah, Bridgewater can run though, right?
Maybe.
He used to be able to
the
injury.
He used to be a little bit. He was never really a running quarterback.
But
skinny knees.
So so we've talked this through, and I feel good. I feel it's a 50-50. I feel
absolutely.
I feel it's a toss up. I feel it's a coin toss, and
I don't think they're a pushover by any means.
We could certainly win this game. It's not impossible. It's not out of the realm of possibility that we come out and win this game. I do think it's going to be a grinder kind of a game.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a close, low-scoring kind of game. But
Brad loves his grinder.
I love grinders. But
just
that was my big fear with the Saints, is that if for some reason Breeze was really hot and you're unable to stop him, that they would score more points than we were able to score. I don't think that's going to happen with the Vikings. So
might be 12-9.
All right,
got a shot.
Should we make the picks then, boys?
Sure.
Go for it.
All right, what are you thinking?
I'm going to go low-scoring affair. I think that, the Eagles win 17-16 in a barn burner.
Interesting.
Just low-scoring, grinded-out kind of a game, a lot of punts, a lot of running. Eagles try to control the ball and maybe, as they have all year, control the time of possession and limit the amount of times that the other team can kind of score on them. And they do enough to win, and they move forward.
I'm going to go Eagles are going to win 21-17. I think it's getting a little more scoring than Brad's thinking, but I think that's about it.
All right, I'll go. I'm going to go contrarian.
What?
I'm not going to have some sweep juju on our hands, so I'm going to go the Eagles lose 19-20.
You filthy bastard. How dare
You will thank me come Sunday.
I won't, though. Not even a little. I may throw things at you. It's your fault.
It's a sacrifice.
It is.
That's exactly what it is.
It's a ballsy pick, though.
I will not have all four of us be picking
I've
that.
told you guys ahead of time that they're going to lose, so to let you down easy, I made it better on you guys.
What are you thinking, Sean?
I'm going to say I'm right in line with you, Rob. I think it's going to be low scoring, but we already had a really low scoring game last week, so I feel like something's going to break, like a big play or something. So I'll say 20 Eagles win 20-16.
All right. I like it.
I like it too.
I like it. All right. I guess that is it for us. That has been the NFC Championship preview. Even though Mike just thinks... Yeah.
Real quick question, guys. I heard this on another podcast. I thought it was an interesting question. Would you rather play... Which matchup would you prefer? Foles versus Keenum or Wentz versus Rodgers?
Foles Keenum. Interesting. Bradford?
I'm thinking about it.
Damn.
That's a tough call, but I think that it's time for changing of the guard. I would probably rather Wentz. I mean, outside of the Seattle game, like he won us so many games that I think he can compete with that. And I think our defense is 1,000 times better than Green Bay's defense. They're not very good. So I think we could win that matchup.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think the difference in the defenses is probably enough to make up for any difference between Rodgers and Wentz.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that even if you had time for a comeback, that the Eagles at the point in time where Rodgers would have time to, exude his magic, would be too late. That the Eagles would be up by 10, and he has a chance to come down and score a touchdown.
Yeah.
I have to, I can't help but be a believer that Wentz is probably, obviously biased fan, but the best quarterback probably in the league. I mean, he was leading the MVP voting going into his injury. Probably would have ended up with the best stats in the league as far as touchdowns versus interceptions go. Won so many games for us and did so many magical things that I have to buy into that.
I don't blame you.
The Golden Pony, man. Ride.
The next decade of Eagles football should be great. This is a great time to be an Eagles fan.
If he stays healthy, absolutely.
Yeah. Agreed. What did people say on the podcast you were on?
I think they were saying it wasn't. I wasn't on it. It was just something I was listening to. I think they said Wentz too, just because of the matchup. They said just seeing Wentz Rodgers is so much more intriguing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How about looking at it from the Patriots, Tom Brady side? Be like, I have to get through Blake Bortles and either Case Keenum or Nick Foles to win a Super Bowl. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's already getting fitted for his,
He really is.
for his next hand.
However,
Hopefully
I
it's
would
a nice
say,
changing of the guard like that Kurt Warner situation when Tom Brady won.
Well, let's talk about the Jacksonville Patriots just for a minute, briefly. I do think that the one problem that Tom Brady has is when he gets pressure from the front. There's one thing Jacksonville can do is pressure with the front four and drop people into coverage, and they have good cornerbacks. So if that front four can get pressure on Brady, they have a puncher's chance. I know it's almost a 10-point spread or whatever. I think they have a puncher's chance.
I think you're right. I think if they get to Brady, they can.
And also,
I don't think the New England's D's that good.
And we kind of look things up as far as coverage goes. If you decide to shift Jalen Ramsey onto Gronk, okay, then you have AJ Bowie on Amendola. Okay, well, if you've mitigated Gronk's effect on the game, where are they going to go? What are they going to do? They've got a chance. I think a bigger.
I
chance
sure hope they do.
A bigger chance than people think, and that bodes well for us if we're able to squeak out a win. And you're looking at Jacksonville in the Super Bowl. It's kind of
What
like
a funny Super Bowl that would be.
And I brought this up a little bit earlier. It's kind of like when the Phillies played the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. The Devil Rays ended up beating the Yankees, and then the Phillies had to beat Tampa Bay to win the World Series. So
Wasn't it the Red Sox they beat?
I thought it was the Yankees. You may be right. I don't know.
I forget,
In talking to
same idea.
going through stuff, yeah, they beat one of the big teams and move forward from there. So if we can happen to get a matchup against Blake Bortles, I think our defense matches up awesome against Jacksonville's offense.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I think they have a chance too. I think, the one thing Brady struggles with is interior pressure. Jacksonville can get it. They have a really, really good secondary, really fast linebackers. The match up with like the Dion Lewis types. That's going to be a better game than I think most people think, unless for some reason like it's like crazy muffed punts and fumbles or something. But I think, I do think New England's going to do everything they can to shut down Fournette.
Well, yeah, you make
so
Bortles.
It's going to be up to Bortles to beat. I mean, he doesn't have to do it that often, but if he's going to have to make, 4 or 5 plays at least in that game by himself for them to be able to pull it off.
And he's not exactly healthy either.
But, Bortles did do that against Pittsburgh. He didn't have a great passing game, but
he did. That's
he
exactly
did enough.
What he did.
Yeah, he did enough.
Like 4 or 5 plays, that touchdown late to the fullback.
Tyler
Yeah,
Croft.
they put 45 up on him, man. I mean, 45. Damn.
Well, I mean, one was a turnover run back, and
True.
a lot of it was the running game.
Well,
And
3 for Fournette, yeah.
Pittsburgh without Shazier, their defense is not that strong, so it was kind of funny in a news and notes kind of way that Todd Haley was let go as the offensive coordinator. I was like, your team just scored 42 in the playoffs. But,
Yeah, man.
I heard that Todd
I
Haley,
knew he was going to get burned for that.
Haley and Roethlisberger apparently didn't have the greatest relationship, so the quarterback's coach is apparently going to be moved into the offensive coordinator position, and Haley's contract is up. They're not going to re-sign him. So, But, I mean, he's been there 6 years, and they've been a top 10 offense every year. Like,
Yeah.
Roethlisberger must have taken him in the bathroom or something.
That's right. Look here, buddy.
God only knows.
Crazy town. So, in a perfect world,
Go Jacksonville. We're doing Go Jacksonville.
we're looking at an Eagles win and a Jacksonville win. And
That's right.
our defense against their offense, Jacksonville's offense in the Super Bowl. So you're saying there's a
And
chance.
ESPN enjoy trying to cover
like
this
it.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You got to think positive. So.
Think positive,
I mean,
man.
Yeah,
Are we gonna get Beers and Birds credentials for the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
yeah.
I was
We
already
submitted
talking
the
to
paperwork.
Spadero. Yeah, they're working on it right now.
What do you have to do to get credentials? That's the thing. You probably know a little bit better.
Well, I know what you have to do, but I'm not going to get them.
Go to the bathroom with
what do you have to do
Ben?
to get credentials? Just so we know. So this is part of our Beers and Birds off-season game.
How many
plan.
credit card points do I need to get credentials?
Well, you just go like the media relations part of the website, like the Eagles website, and you apply. Like it's pretty simple. They have it all up there, but it's
then they look you
mean-
up, I take it, and go, this guy.
yeah. I mean,
What's their criteria for acceptance?
Eagles Live credit from a decade ago is not going to get it done.
I don't know what it is. I think it's just on a judgmental basis.
Okay.
So I know like the Eagles are obviously stricter than like Temple would be, or colleges, or the Union type. I think.
Yeah, maybe we should go for the Philly Union first.
Yeah. Build our way up. Though it doesn't, I don't know.
Okay. So I mean, obviously, if it were easily accessible, that everybody would apply and have a pass, and then it would defeat the purpose of having that credentialing to get into these things. So there's some kind of criteria that you have to meet, but we don't know what that is.
Somehow Kepanoski got it done.
Kempanoski did it. So
That dirty rat.
thanks, John. Anyways. So, all right. That's it for us. Unless you have something to add there, Sean.
Nope. All
All
good.
right.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. Championship game. All right. Bears and Birds out. Take care. Good night, and we love you. Beers and Birds is a Lounge Legends production. A free beer tomorrow and a $5 charge for whining.
And the word was yet.
Yeah.
The word was yet. We ain't done. We ain't done yet. All right? I am so freaking proud of every one of you, man. Right? I can't believe it. Well, I can believe it. Because you know what? 1 week from tomorrow, we come back together and we shock the world again. You got it? Let's get this job done. Great job, man.
We believe in everybody that's in this circle, man. You know what I'm saying? If this don't prove it, if you don't believe it yet, man, go home. Because we taking this all the way, man. We're going to enjoy this, bud. Next week, that NFC championship is coming through us. We're going to turn it up, man. Focus back on the process, get back in our grind, and we're going to show up next week and shock the world, man. Family on 3. 1, 2, 3.